So naturalism is, okay, so the way I'm using this term is to describe people who want things to be natural. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like plant medicine girlies, people who don't like synthetic drugs. Or I don't know, when I was growing up, there were a lot of people who didn't like doing drugs or substances whatsoever. Even if it's Tylenol, they didn't want to do anything. And that always struck me as a profoundly stupid way of viewing things. I think I get it though. Some people want to see what they're capable of, etc. But here's the problem. If you want everything to be natural, you can't evolve better tools. I think this is inherently true. It's just like, it's kind of where I'm going with it is that it's an anti-science, anti-evolution, anti-maturity mindset. I think that if you want everything to be natural, then I guess that's fine. It's a type of constraint. But generally what it sort of ends up being is that you just have shitty tools. You're just sort of left with whatever the status quo was when you started. And so it's really what it is it's like a don't fuck with the status quo mindset. Really, it's just like however you were born, whatever variables you were given at the beginning of your life or at the beginning of whatever venture you set out on, you don't want to mess with them, you don't want to change them, you think it's unnatural to change, to mess with the starting variables. And it's kind of a religious mindset, honestly. I think most of the time it comes from religion or spiritualism, and it's kind of just like, I don't know. The problem is you can't evolve better tools. You cannot change your starting conditions, so you're stuck with whatever you started with. And this is like, I don't know, it's just like, it's bad news for anyone who wants to have a better life, but is constrained by their starting conditions. This attitude will fuck you over. And so what I've come to realize is that I think I am an anti-naturalist. And what I mean by that is that I want to evolve, I want to grow, I want to continue to change, and you can see my wheel. I want to overcome my starting conditions, and this entire idea that things are better when you leave nature as it intended completely just gets in the way. And I think I'm an anti-naturalist. I think that at the end of the day, I don't just want to overcome my starting variables, I actually want to be able to just transcend all of them entirely. And it is definitely true that nature provides a lot. Nature gives us a lot of stuff. And if we work within those constraints, we can accomplish more than we think we can. But for example, I'm thinking of going to the moon. We have to account for gravity and atmosphere, and there's just so many variables. When we really go out of our quote natural environment, we really have to work really hard to make up for all those things that nature provides normally. And it's a lot of extra work. And so I think that's a big part of the naturalist movement, is that if you just don't try to move past nature, then you'll never have to evolve better tools. And it's absurd on some level, because trying to go to the moon or Mars, just Earth is already a really great place to live. Why would we need to go to the moon or Mars? And the problem is, well, what if we need to at some point? If we have a naturalist attitude, we'll never be able to. And so I think I'm an anti-naturalist. I don't want to rely on nature. In fact, I want to have enough skill and knowledge and resources to provide for myself in any set of situation, any set of conditions, regardless of whether nature provides there or not. I think that is what it means to evolve, is to overcome natural starting conditions. It's also, I think, what maturity means, is that you start to become proficient and skilled and knowledgeable enough to not need to rely on your starting condition to provide everything for you. Imagine, a lot of people have good parents, but some people have shit parents. And for the people with shit parents, they just don't have the same advantages in life. They started out with almost, by comparison, a fraction of the jump start that people with good parents have, and myself included. And if you are a naturalist, you'll just never be able to overcome your starting conditions. And I'm against that. I want to be able to not just overcome my starting conditions, but teach everyone else to overcome their starting conditions, despite however bad they might be. And so naturalism is, I think it's an anti-evolutionary mindset. It's anti-growth, and it's really bad. I think it sort of presents itself as something that is harmless, but it's the opposite. And the end of November, beginning of December. And there's a lot of lessons that I came away from that experience with, but I think the biggest one was that I had this belief. So I broke up with my best friend that you should be able to. I had this belief that with enough patience and communication and no outstanding conflicts, you should be able to maintain relationship with anyone. And I think I believe that because I was taught to believe it growing up. And I think what I've come to realize is that is not true. Me and my best friend, she's a woman, but we were not romantically involved. And I just didn't think that there would be any reason why we couldn't continue to be best friends. But that's just not true. Stuff got in the way, and eventually it just wasn't working. And it took me a really long time to believe and accept that, because I didn't want to. I had this belief that it should be able to work out. And it probably lasts a lot longer than it should have. But I think it's okay, because it taught me this lesson, which is that I'm only going 10 miles an hour. It taught me this lesson. And I think I had abandonment issues for a very long time. I would really cling to people because I was afraid of being alone. And I think what this has taught me is that it is true that you can't count on people. And also that people are not the point of life. Love should not be your reason for existence. And I have arrived. I'll just go around the block. I got 8 minutes. So it's people are the medium. People are not the goal. People can never be the end situation. The reason people can never be your reason for existence. They can only be something that you appreciate and enjoy along the way. And that's a very hard lesson to learn. I think a lot of people believe that people should be the reason for your existence. And I think the reason that they believe it is because it feels safe. It feels right and natural to believe in, I don't know, the sanctity of human connectivity. And I don't think human connectivity should be sanctified. I don't think it is sacred. I think that at the end of the day, people are just, I don't know, we're all just programs running on meat hardware. But to some level, we are interchangeable. The idea that some people are unique and not replaceable, I don't think I believe that anymore. That's not to say that people aren't valuable and different, and you shouldn't value them and you shouldn't care about your relationships. But I guess what I'm saying is that it's just like your relationships can't be more valuable than yourself without that relationship. You really need to be able to prioritize yourself. And this led me to something else, which I wish had gone in the reverse. But this led me to thinking about and realizing that I was too gracious with people. I would let people treat me badly here and there and give them the benefit of the doubt. And I've also come to realize that I do that way too much. I should not give people the benefit of the doubt if they treat me badly, even if they don't mean to, or even if it seems like they don't mean to, if they say it's like they don't mean to. I just should not have patience for it. I have a hypersensitive bullshit meter now. And I don't know, just don't want to be, come to realize that a lot of people are way more willing to fuck with you than I was ready to believe. And I've had to update my thinking on that. Anyways, that's the first 2 topics. I gotta go. I got a list of things to talk about. Probably got a whole podcast to fucking record and throw together. But we gonna do it.
That's how I was doing.
Got. We are off. I'm going to extend this out a little bit. It might be a little bit floppy today because reasons. So we are gonna mosey to Noisebridge. So I'm re-recording a lot of shit because previously when I recorded this, the microphone turned off because reasons. So I'm gonna re-record. The first thing is that if what I'm doing with my philosophy is so great, why aren't more people doing it? And it has been a thing that has been on my mind for at least a good 6 weeks, which is to say that I think what I'm doing is profound and super interesting, and also potentially the most beneficial thing that an individual could do. And so if that is true, why is it that I'm the only one who is doing it? I've explained it to a lot of other people, exactly what I'm doing, my methods, my goal, also why I think it's so beneficial. And I've even had a few of people agree with me that it probably is one of the most beneficial things that you can do. And yet none of them are doing it. I also don't think that I'm uniquely special. I don't think I'm a genius or anything. So I don't know why. I've never heard of anyone else doing this either. I want to get this. I don't know if the views are coming through. It's kind of nice when it's way out. I want to put it even further out. Kind of like that. It's just hard to hold on to. But So essentially, this is a true enigma to me because I've explained this to and a lot of people who I think are very motivated to have better lives and better themselves, and none of them are on the same page with me, or at least none of them are doing what I'm doing, and that is just extremely suspect. So either I am crazy in that I think that what I'm doing is way more interesting and valuable than it is, or it's not as interesting and valuable as I think it is. But I don't think that's true. I think it is as interesting and valuable as I think it is. And I think that my buddy Brandon gave me a really good compliment the other day. He said that, or at least a while back, he said that I'm Neo in the Matrix. And he said I have strong main character energy. And he said that he is super curious to see where I'll be in 10 years because I think I'm also curious to see where I'll be in 10 years. But anyway, so does the view come through? I think the view does come through. That looks pretty good. Ayo. All right, I'm gonna go down the windy road. So I don't know. I would love to share what I'm doing with other people. I don't want to be doing it alone. That's not nice. And I would love to be. I think that there's no reason in my mind why I should be doing it alone. I don't know if you can see how windy this fucking road is. This road is that really famous road. It's very windy. It's kind of too dark though to see it. But anyway, so I wonder if you can see if I go over the back. Is this a third person perspective? I'll have to watch this back. But so this is, I don't know why more people aren't doing what I'm doing. I'm genuinely shocked and surprised. Also, what I'm doing is like a very direct and powerful, meaningful application of science. Because that's what I am. I'm a fucking scientist. I'm using the scientific method to do philosophy. And I really hope that this is coming through. Third person perspective, baby. This is fucking rad, actually. I really hope that this is coming through. How fucking cool and based and powerful what I'm doing is. Because I don't know. I don't fucking know. All right, anyways, that's the first thing. Motivation, momentum. All right, so another thing I've been thinking a lot about is the Molly mindset. Or at least, going up this fucking windy ass, steep ass road with really slowly. So the Molly mindset, essentially thinking a lot about Molly is a powerful drug. It's powerful and beautiful. It has tremendous potential and therapeutic potential, and it naturally makes you more agreeable, social, relatable, forgiving, loving, kind, generous. And but it's a mindset. It's not actually, I don't think that any of the things that you get from the mindset are unique to the drug. So I've been thinking a lot about, I think it is the best mindset, most powerful mindset that you can have. So I've been trying to figure out how to do it. Anyways, the concrete thing that I figured out is that I think for the power and importance of forgiveness in the moment. If you are out in public trying to talk with strangers and, hold on, get this view, not that, this view. If you're out in public trying to talk with strangers and you have bad interactions with people, then it will steal your energy. If you're trying to be relational, at least, and you're trying to be relational, you need people to match your investment in order to maintain your energy. And I'm working on another theory about how I think being relational might not be the best way to relate with people, actually. It's probably not the best social mode, is being relational. I think there's another mode. I'm working on it, though. I'm not sure I've identified it fully yet. But that mode is, well, not that mode. Anyways, so the power of forgiveness is, I don't know if this is coming through. You can see the bay over there. That's kind of coming through. So the power of forgiveness is that if you have a bad interaction with somebody, you can forgive them and you will keep your energy. If they're the person who caused the bad interaction, you can forgive them and keep your energy. It's really powerful. It's really, I've tried it and tested it a bunch of times and I think it works. Also, you can forgive yourself. If you're the one who caused the bad interaction, you can forgive yourself and that will also help keep your energy. And the more I think about this and use this technique, the more I think that it might be like easily 70% of your lost energy in social situations comes from one of these two things. Either not forgiving other people or not forgiving yourself. I think for me, a lot of the time, I don't forgive myself. I just have, dude, this is a great view. I'm trying to figure out what angle it needs to be at. But I think easily half, if not more than half of the time, is forgiving myself, actually. I have really high expectations of myself and hopes for myself in how I will act and interact. I give myself a lot of agency, or at least I attribute to myself a lot of agency for how the interaction goes. So if it doesn't go well, then usually I'm holding it against myself. And I have to forgive myself when I do. There's a lot of energy that I would otherwise lose if I didn't forgive myself. Look at this direction, look at all of this shit. Wow, this is a great view. Look at all this. Fuck, let's go. And so that's the one concrete thing I've taken from the Molly mindset. I think there are a lot of other beautiful things that are in the Molly mindset that I can't wait to unpack and unravel. It's such a powerful and beautiful mindset. It's just like the sky's the limit. It feels like it feels like all your intuitions are correct. And it's not that it gives you knowledge that you don't otherwise have. It just gives you the right intuition, which is like, I don't know, it's almost as good as having the right knowledge and skills. So there was a technique that I worked out a while back. It has to do with this relational stuff. If you are trying to be relational, other people have to match your investment. And that's just kind of, it's shitty because if they don't match your investment, then other people have to match your investment. And if they don't, then you lose energy. And so I was trying to think of another way to keep your energy up, to fuel yourself while you're having social interactions. And I think I figured out something that is powerful and potent. I don't know if it is the ultimate technique. I don't think so. But I call it salesman technique. So instead of being relational, you fuel your interaction by getting people to do things for you. And it's very simple. It could be like getting somebody to give you a compliment, getting somebody to give you a sip of their drink. The context I use it is mostly at a bar talking with women, or getting somebody to buy you a drink, give you a sip of their drink. If they have a vape, ask if you can hit it. If they have friends, ask them to introduce you to their friends, and so on and so forth. If you exchange contact information, ask them to put it in their phone and not your phone. And it's just a different sort of approach to fueling your interactions. It's because it's like sales. In sales, you might do relational stuff, but that's not what fuels your interaction. What fuels your interaction is hitting your metrics and your targets and doing the things that you're trying to accomplish in the sales call. And so it definitely works. It also, I think, is very confident forming. You're very likely to be confident on it. I can't really feel which way is up. Oh, that way is up. But so, salesman technique. That leads me to talking about narcissism. So I've been thinking a lot about the utility of narcissism. And honestly, it is totally unclear to me where the benefits of narcissism stop. I know that narcissism is a personality disorder in the extreme, although I was looking into it, and some amount of narcissism is considered normal. And if you didn't have any at all, that would be considered a problem. You should be at least some amount self-focused. And so the real question is how much? And it's really unclear to me how much is too much. It's an extremely beneficial thing to be narcissistic. It's good for you. It's not, I don't know if it's bad for other people. There's a lot of ways in which it doesn't have to be bad for other people if you're narcissistic. And so, I don't know. It's just like, it's an open question in my mind. I've been thinking about that a lot. Also wanted to do an analysis of fucking Trump. Trump never ceases to amaze. He is so surprisingly successful all the time with all of his crazy fucking antics. And it's remarkable. His success ratio is absolutely remarkable. And that is totally a thing worth looking into. Another thing that I've noticed, or at least, so when I grew up in a cult, right? And I was living in a prison and there weren't a lot of people. And I thought that when I got out into society and actually learned how things work, then I'd be like a normal person. And what I'm starting to realize is that it's not really even that normal to have high social ability. Very few people have high social ability. It is like a bell curve. And high social ability is relatively very rare. And like a lot of people don't have any at all. A lot of people were just as bad as me who grew up in isolation in a fucking prison. And metaphorical prison. It wasn't a literal prison, but it might as well have been. And I would say probably 20 to 30% of people are about as bad as I was growing up. And but even more people, maybe 50 to 60%, might not be as bad as I was without the social anxiety, but they still don't know how to be successful. So they aren't really that social either. Anyway, I don't know. For the most important skills in life to be so obscure is hella fucking weird. Thinking about doing last places. So here's another thing that I've been thinking a lot about is essentially, I might have talked about this in the past, but I'm gonna bring it up again, which is that a lot of people, if they have any social ability, arrive to it or at it through negative emotions. And usually they have success because there's a negative root that causes short-term success, but the fruit is sour and it doesn't persist. The dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and sociopathy. You can choose to have those traits. And if you do, which I think most people do out of anger at society, at the world, at the difficulty of life, you will have social success. It might not permeate or resonate through the rest of your life forever, but you'll have it in the short term for sure. Because in order to get people to relax around you, you need a certain amount of negative interactions. And if you're really fucking angry and decide to be narcissistic and sociopathic, you'll have those negative interactions and you'll have some social success just like naturally. So it's a weird thing. Learning to do it properly without the negative emotions and without the anger, the resentment, and the punishing affect. It's very difficult, but it's also very worth it. It's like being a kung fu master. If the only dimension, not the only dimension, but if the most important dimension in life was being good at kung fu, then it would be like being a kung fu master. It's just totally worth it. Another thing that I've been thinking about is essentially how I've been watching a lot of these donghua. They're Chinese animes. They're really good usually, or at least some of them are very good. Three of my top most liked anime of the last 2 years are donghua. And there's a common theme, which is the continuous evolution and growth. And there's an infinite spiritual journey. You can grow infinitely more powerful. Every step of the way is treacherous though, because there's always going to be people who want to, look at this. There's always going to be people who want to kill and eat the main character or whatever, but I gotta sit for a bit. My fucking feet are killing me. QQKQED. All right, fuck it down. It's hard to sit going too slow, but I'm trying not to go too fast. So, but one of the main things that is a theme, and I think is true in real life, is that every time you want to level up, you have to risk everything to do it. Like that, every time you want to gain an order of magnitude in power, you have to put your life on the line and risk everything to do it. It doesn't mean you can't be prepared and whatever, what's up. But it's a risky business, evolving. It's not risk-free. It's hard to do in a gradual way. A lot of times you need to take a wild leap to the next level and also risk all your progress on the previous level to do it. So that's a thing. Oh, this is hard to balance when it's out like this. But find the next out of the. Here's another thing that this is a recent development, and this is very powerful. It's very emotionally impactful for me recently, which is that I think accountability is the foundation of community. So what community is, generally speaking, is all of the stuff that comes on top of accountability. So quality time, shared experiences, the love languages, gifts, affirmations, hugs, kisses, cuddles, all that stuff is like, I guess it's like the icing, but the cake is accountability. And so it's, once you know this, the power in realizing it is that you don't need all the trappings of community to have the support of community. You just need accountability. I've been doing this thing recently where I text a friend a goal that I want to accomplish. And I guess the reason that this is important in the first place is because I lost my best friend, or at least we broke up as friends. And I didn't realize how much I was depending on that relationship for accountability. It was like a massive stabilizing force in my life. And with it gone, I was just like, I had 2 weeks of just rampant depression. I was feeling horrible. And, oh shit, gotta like adjust my hair. I was feeling really bad. And once I started to realize that I need accountability, I just feel so much better again. I've just been like making commitments to my friends. I'm gonna work out this much, and if I don't, then I'll pay you $5 every day that I don't. And it's done the trick. I don't know. It's powerful because I think to excel in life, often you have this sort of lonely at the top problem where you can't spend a lot of time with and around people. You just don't have the time, you don't have the space, you don't have whatever. So if you switch this around, but it doesn't mean that you have to do away with the accountability. I think most people who are very successful have accountability naturally because they have to work with other people to be very successful, externally at least. But sometimes, if you're like me, you can't always bring people with you. Sometimes you're on a path that nobody else wants to come along with you. And so this is how you can do it. You just establish some accountability, and then you have all of the benefits, like the fundamental benefit of community, without actually needing to have all of the trappings that come on top of it, which are often much more expensive in terms of time. And I don't know. All right, so another thing I've been working on is being optimistic, or at least what I've come to realize, I had this optimism theory, and I sort of couch it in my success theory. And what I've come to realize is that I think that when I talked about optimism in that theory, what I meant was just that theory is regarding external success. But that the optimism or the success theory is about external success. And so that's optimism for success. That's how you do it. And I think the optimism bleeds into all of the other dichotomies, extroversion, minimizing, in all the different areas of life where people are likely to fall on one side of that spectrum or the other. Optimism applies in each one of those areas. I'll work on a better way of saying that, I guess. This is the bike kitchen, by the way. All right, what's next? Another thing that I realized after breaking up with my best friend is that I had, oh, I guess I already talked about the hypersensitive bullshit meter. So I will see what else. All right, getting close to the end. So there's this idea I've already sort of mentioned a little bit that being relational, meeting people, I don't think it's the best way of meeting people. I don't think being relational is the best way of doing it. And I've been starting to explore an idea, which is that I think that attention might be all you need. There's that research paper that talks about AI and attention being all you need. But this is a similar thing, which I think that attention is a fuel, that attention could be a social fuel that can fuel you instead of being relational. Because the problem with being relational is that people have to match your investment or you lose energy. And especially when you're talking with strangers, most people do not match your investment because why would they, I guess? Question mark. So instead of relying on people to match your investment, you can sort of just seek attention and that will fuel you. I'm working on it. It's a theory, but I have some preliminary, I guess, experiences that suggest that it's true on some level. And so I'm going to be working on that some more. So I guess I will wrap up by talking about, I finally have a list of topics for the book. Now that I have this, I'm still working on social theory. There are still some areas in which I would like to improve, and I am excited to do so. So I'm going to continue working on it, but also I can feel it wrapping up. I can feel that it is coming to a close. I don't know how much longer it'll be, but I have never been more close to being done. And so that is exciting. And so, what am I trying to say? A little bit fast. So I have a list of topics that I think are going to go in the book. And the general synopsis is going to be essentially that being a free thinker is something that is indirectly penalized by the people in power in the world. There's a circle jerk of groupthink between the sciences and academia and the medical establishment and the government. That's true in America. And what happens in America often trickles down into the rest of the world because America is the most powerful and affluent nation on the planet. So there is a global, I don't know, monoculture that for the most part is going unchallenged. And so in order to see past it and to live like a good life, you need to be a based free thinker. I think there's diminishing returns though on being too much of a based free thinker, but you want to be enough of a based free thinker to at least see clearly through the lies and deceptions that come from that global monoculture. And that starts with the minimizing dynamic across all the different spectrums of life. So success theory and optimism, the extroversion theory, and the importance of social skill. And also, I think I am finally coming back around to my ethics theory with valuable new updates that will put that theory in context, because I, for a long time, had that ethics theory and I just didn't have any way of using it, so I didn't use it. But now I think I might again, and I'm excited about that. And then finally, when you're done talking about maximizing and minimizing across all the different spectrums of perspective, you talk about billionaire mindset and how to like pursue success. And I think that might be it. That might be everything that goes in the book. And so I'm excited. This is, it's been about 6 weeks, I think, since my last video. And I'm not gonna try not fall. 6 weeks since the last video, and there has been a lot of updates. And there have been, I guess, a few nuances that I have left out. But I think this is probably 80% of the stuff that I've worked on in the last 6 weeks. And I'm very excited to see what's next. It's weird because it's so difficult to describe what exponential growth feels like. It feels like, I don't know, becoming an alien and living on a different planet. I think that's what it feels like. But I guess repeatedly, over and over again. It's really good, and I'm excited. Anyways, thanks for bearing with me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Look at this cute little catfish.